For 15 years, he lived in a wheelchair. Then a rookie soldier discovered a secret. And what happened next left the entire base speechless. For 15 long years, Colonel Grayson had lived in his wheelchair. A legend on the battlefield, he had led hundreds of missions. But during one covert operation in Afghanistan, an IED ripped through his convoy. His spine was shattered. Doctors told him there was no hope, no walking, no recovery. Life in a chair, forever. And he had accepted it. Or at least, he thought he had. But Private Maya Thompson, a young black soldier in her mid-20s, wasn't ready to accept it. She knelt on one knee, her hands steady as she tightened the straps of an unfamiliar knee brace around the colonel's legs. "Private Thompson," barked Sergeant Cole, standing nearby. "Step aside. The colonel doesn't need your help." Maya didn't move. Her voice was calm but firm. "Sir, with respect, yes, he does." Around her, soldiers whispered, exchanging nervous glances. Nobody dared to speak to the colonel like that. Colonel Grayson sat stiffly in his wheelchair, his silver hair shining under the morning sun, his dark blue uniform pressed to perfection. His expression was stone, unreadable, cold, and sharp. "You're wasting your time, Private," he said flatly. Maya kept working, adjusting the brace carefully. "With respect, sir, I've read your medical files." His eyes narrowed instantly. "You had no clearance to do that." "I had need," she replied simply, without flinching. A ripple of murmurs passed through the watching soldiers. Maya's hands moved gently, but confidently as she checked the straps. Her uniform was still crisp, her boots hardly scuffed. A rookie, fresh out of training. But there was something in her voice, something unshakable, that made everyone stop and listen. "You think I haven't been examined by the best?" Grayson said sharply, his jaw tightening. "I think," Maya said softly, "sometimes the best get tired of trying." The colonel's fingers twitched slightly on his thighs. No one had spoken to him like this in years. "Watch your tone, Private. You're out of line." "With respect, sir," she said, her voice steady. "Your gluteus and quad muscles still have residual activity. Weak, yes, but alive. Your lower motor neurons are still firing. That means there's a pathway. Broken, but not dead." For a moment, the colonel froze. No one had said that to him in over a decade. Every doctor, every therapist, every specialist had told him the same thing. Impossible. He stared at her, and for the first time in years, doubt cracked through the wall he had built around himself. "You're suggesting I could just stand up and walk?" he asked bitterly. "No, sir," she said, meeting his eyes. "I'm saying we can teach your body to remember. It won't be easy. It won't be quick. But it's possible." He studied her for a long, silent moment. "Do you have any idea how many times I've tried? How many times I've fallen flat on my face in front of my men?" His voice was low, sharp, and laced with pain. Maya's tone softened. "I know what it feels like to be dismissed, sir. To be told you're not worth the effort. I've lived my whole life being looked through." Her words hung in the air. Then she straightened, locking eyes with him, her expression unshaken. "Give me 30 days, Colonel. 30 days to prove you still have something left. If I fail, you'll never hear from me again." There was no arrogance in her voice, no desperation, just conviction. Colonel Grayson exhaled slowly, his gaze shifting to the watching soldiers. Dozens of eyes were on him, waiting for his reaction. Finally, he gave a small nod. 30 days, he said quietly. Maya didn't smile. She simply stood, saluted, and walked away, leaving the entire field in stunned silence. That night, in his quarters, Colonel Grayson sat in front of his mirror, staring at his reflection. For the first time in years, he didn't see a broken man. He didn't see a wheelchair. He saw possibility. The next morning, At exactly 0600 hours, Colonel Grayson wheeled into the abandoned rehabilitation wing of the base gym. Dust clung to the equipment like forgotten memories. Most of the soldiers didn't even know this room existed anymore. But Maya was already there. Her sleeves were rolled up, the parallel bars cleaned, the braces laid out neatly, and her expression focused. She didn't salute when he entered. He had told her not to. "Braces are warm and ready, sir," she said, her voice steady. "Today, we aim for 30 seconds. That's all." The colonel said nothing. He rolled forward, locked his wheelchair, and placed his hands on the bars. Maya stepped beside him, attaching stabilizers to his thighs and calves with precision. "Tell me if anything feels wrong," she said softly. "It already does," he muttered. But he let her lift him anyway. Her arm braced his back, her presence solid and calm. With his hands gripping the bars, he took a deep breath. "Shift your weight, sir," she whispered. "Just a little." His arms trembled. Pain shot down his spine like lightning. He clenched his teeth, refusing to let the groan escape. Maya stayed silent, just breathing with him, matching his rhythm. 10 seconds passed. Then 20. Then 30. "Sit, sir," she said gently. He collapsed back into the chair, drenched in sweat, his breathing ragged. "I didn't move," he whispered bitterly. Maya crouched in front of him, her expression unwavering. "No, sir. But you stood. You bore your own weight. That's the first step." For the first time in 15 years, something shifted inside him. A spark. And he hated to admit it, but for the first time since his injury, he wanted to try again. The next few days at Fort Ridge Military Base felt different. Word had spread quickly. Some soldiers whispered that Colonel Grayson had finally lost his mind. Others laughed quietly behind Maya's back, calling her the rookie with impossible dreams. Nobody believed she could succeed. Nobody, except her. Every morning, just after 0600, the colonel wheeled into the abandoned rehabilitation wing. The room smelled of old leather and dust, and the only sounds were the creak of the bars and Maya's calm instructions. "Breathe, sir. Shift your weight slowly. Feel the tension in your quads." Most days, he cursed under his breath. Some mornings, he nearly blacked out from the pain. Once on the 4th day, his arms gave out completely, and he crashed forward. But Maya caught him before he hit the ground. "Let go," he snapped, his pride stinging. She didn't. "Not yet, sir," she said softly. "You've been carrying pain alone for 15 years. Today, let someone carry you for a second." That day, he said nothing. But inside, something cracked. By the 2nd week, something strange began happening. His legs, the same legs doctors said were lifeless, started to respond. Subtle, small contractions. Barely there. But Maya noticed. She adjusted the stabilizers, leaning close. "There," she whispered. "Feel that? Your neurons are firing. Your body's waking up." He didn't answer, but his grip on the bars tightened, just slightly. Still, the rest of the base mocked them. At lunch, Maya overheard 2 sergeants whispering, "30 days? She's insane. That man's spine is finished." Maya ignored them. She had learned to live with doubt. From others, from herself, from the world. But when she stepped back into the rehab wing, there was no hesitation in her voice. "Again, sir. We try again." And he did. On the 21st day, something finally changed. Maya had stepped slightly farther back, testing his balance, when she saw it. His knees locked without her support. For the first time in 15 years, Colonel Ethan Grayson was standing on his own strength. Her breath caught, but she didn't cheer. She stayed calm, steady. "You feel that?" she asked softly. He looked down, disbelief flooding his face. I'm holding myself up." "Yes, sir," she said. "Your body remembers." He lowered himself carefully back into the chair, silent for a long moment. Then he turned to her. "Why are you doing this, Private? Why do you care so much?" Maya hesitated, her usual steady composure faltering. For weeks, she had avoided this conversation, but she couldn't anymore. "My father," she said quietly, her voice cracking slightly. "He was a Marine, got injured during deployment. Doctors told us there was no hope. He died in that chair, sir. Not from the injury, from giving up." The colonel stared at her, silent, his chest rising and falling slowly. "I couldn't save him," Maya whispered, blinking back tears. "But if I can save you, maybe I can forgive myself." For the first time since they met, Colonel Grayson's hardened expression softened. "You're not doing this for me," he said quietly. "I'm doing it for both of us," she replied. On the 30th day, the entire base gathered on the same field where it all began. Soldiers formed a tight circle, watching silently. No one spoke. At the center stood Colonel Grayson, strapped into his braces, gripping his black carbon cane with trembling hands. Maya stood by his side, calm but focused, her cap pulled low to hide the fear in her eyes. "You don't have to do this in front of them," she whispered. "I do," he said firmly. "I need them to see what's possible." The field was silent. You could hear the faint hum of the wind brushing through the grass. Then he moved. One step. The air shifted. A ripple of shock spread through the soldiers. He took another. Gasps broke out. Some covered their mouths. A few whispered his name like a prayer. By the third step, Maya's eyes brimmed with tears, but she didn't move to help him. She knew better now. And then, with one deep breath, Colonel Ethan Grayson straightened fully, his back taller than anyone had seen in 15 years. The field erupted. Cheers, shouts, clapping. It was chaos. Some soldiers cried openly. Others dropped their rifles and saluted. But the colonel didn't look at them. He turned to Maya, tears sliding silently down his face. "You didn't just make me walk," he said, his voice trembling. "You reminded me who I was before the chair." Maya's lips quivered, but her voice was strong. "You were never gone, sir. You just needed someone to believe again." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, gold-plated medal, the Medal of Valor. Without a word, he pinned it to her chest. "You earned this," he said, his voice breaking. "Not for saving my legs, but for saving my will." The soldiers erupted once more, but in that moment, everything else faded. The noise, the stares, the weight of 15 lost years. In that field, on that day, a man who had been told impossible for half his life chose to believe anyway. Sometimes, the greatest battles aren't fought on the battlefield. They're fought inside us. This wasn't just about walking again. It was about hope. About refusing to surrender when the world tells you it's over. If this story touched your heart, don't just watch, share it. Someone out there needs to hear that it's never too late to rise again. And if you want more stories like this, hit that subscribe button. Because we have so many more to tell.